One of my favourite purchases of the last few years have been these. These are the Aftershokz Aeropex Air bone conducting earphones. I did a full review of these when I got them, and I've been using them ever since. I've got a heck of a lot of use out of them as well, and I really do like them. However, Aftershokz have just released a new version called the Aeropex. So I went ahead and bought some, and let's take a look at them. They've done a better job with the packaging on this one because the box itself is smaller than the Aeropex Air, and yet there's more inside it. One of the things I got in here, which I didn't get with the Aeropex Air, is a sport belt. I'll show you that in a second. And then the rest of the box folds open neatly. You can see that hole on the right. There's nothing missing out of there. That's just where the headphones rest when it's all closed up. So we'll get everything out and have a look at it. First thing we've got here is a neoprene carrying case, and that's got a magnetic closure on it. So that's a nice, neat little thing. Going over to that sport belt, you can see you can put your keys on one side. It's separated out. You've got your phone on the other, and it's got the usual plastic clasp type of thing on the back there. We've got an instruction booklet in multiple languages, the usual warranty cards and things, and then a bit of an addendum reminding people how to connect the Bluetooth up by holding down the plus button for a few seconds. Earplugs, pretty standard, nothing much to say about those. I'll mention more about them perhaps later though. And then we've got the headset itself. I chose grey as the colour for this one. My previous one is black, and I thought I'd do a bit of a change just so I can differentiate between them in this video as much as anything else. I do other colours as well. And then there are two charging cables. It was nice that they included two. They didn't have to. They are specific to this device though, so maybe one's really a spare because it's a magnetic charging cable. Nice, neat little system. I wish all headphones had such a neat system as this, so you could just clip it on like that. It can't be put on the wrong way around, and when it's charging it will light up in red. It's a little bit difficult to see under these studio lights, but I think you can just make it out there. Once it's finished charging, it will turn blue. In front of the power connector, you'll find the volume up and down buttons. The volume up is also the power toggle, so if you hold that down for a couple of seconds, it will switch it on or off. And they've also got raised markings on there, so you can identify them whilst you've still got the headset on your head. On the other side, we've got the multi-function button for play and pause, that kind of thing. And then around the other side, there's a microphone on there, so you can make Bluetooth calls over this. So we'll just compare it against the Aeropex Air, the previous model. That's the black one on the left. The parts that go on the side of your head are larger on the Aeropex Air. However, the section that actually comes into contact with the side of your head is smaller and has a raised section on it. So the new one's a little bit neater in that regard. A larger pad, and yet it takes up less space. Now, charging the previous one was a pain in the neck. That was perhaps the worst feature about it. You had to open that little port and stick a micro USB in there, although of course that was a universal cable, whereas the new one you're going to have to use the cable that came with it. However, much easier to charge on this. Also notice the sizes of the buttons has changed. Much easier to feel them on the new one compared to the old one, especially having the power in the middle on the old one was a little bit tricky. On the new one it's much more simple with it being the button at the front. So it's charged up now, lit up in blue, so we can take it off its charge and turn it on, which is just holding down that button at the front, which then activates the Bluetooth connection, and I'll connect that up to my phone. It does do multi-point connection on this, so we can connect two devices up to it easily. And once it's connected up, I can now kind of demonstrate it a little bit. You can feel the vibrations through it. You can't hear much coming through at all. So what I'm going to do, I'll put it on this box so that it can amplify the sound a little bit. The vibrations are then converted into something we can hear. Now obviously it sounds better in your head than it does through this cardboard box, unless of course your head is also made out of a cardboard box, in which case you've got other issues. Now as far as that button goes, one tap to play, one tap to stop, double tap to jump forward a track, triple tap to jump back. The previous one didn't let you jump back a track, so that's an additional feature on this one. And then there's other things you can do as well. They're shown on the screen here, but note down the right hand side of each of these pages it mentions things that the device says back to you. Sometimes they're just beeps, however sometimes it's a voice, and I do appreciate a voice coming back through these devices just so you know that you activated the feature you intended to. I'll just play you a few of the things that it will say to you if you activate one of those features.
Welcome to Aftershokz. Connected. Battery medium. Power off.
Right, now let me show you whereabouts these fit on the head. If I put them on here, go sideways on, you can see that they rest just in front of the ears. So the ear canals are wide open, and these are resting just on that little bone in front of your ear there. Now, notice that I've got a little bit of space here at the back, and I've got a gigantic head. If I ever buy a baseball hat, I have to get one that's bigger than any of the ones they sell in the shop, so large head. However, notice these join together in the middle. So that means that whatever size head you've got, they're going to accommodate it. Now, you might think that's going to be like pressurising, like a pushing in feeling. It's very lightweight, very delicate. It's just the right amount of tension on them. So they touch against the side of the head, but they don't squeeze the head. So that means that they've always got a good contact, but you can wear them all day long and you don't get any kind of discomfort with them at all. Now, the main thing to say about these is that they're designed for a specific purpose, and that's to let the sound in around you as well as enable you to hear what's being played over them via Bluetooth. So don't think you can wear these in a loud environment, because the audio of whatever's going on around you is going to drown these out. If you're in a loud environment, you need noise cancelling headphones or some sort of headphones that block out the sound around you. These are designed more for someone who's doing sport, running around. They can be fully aware of their surroundings whilst also listening to whatever it is they want to listen to, motivational music or whatever. Now, you might think, well, why am I wearing them? I'm not a sporty person. Yeah, you're right, I'm not. I like to wear them around the house, listening to podcasts. And whilst I'm around the house, if somebody was to knock on the door, ring the doorbell, telephone was to ring or whatever, I can hear that fine. Now, you might be thinking, well, you could just get some of those earbuds, like the Apple ones or the Sony ones, that have that kind of audio pass-through mode. Well, of course, I've got those. It's nothing like these. These are just like hearing everything as normal, plus hearing whatever's on your thing as well. So your ears are kind of multitasking in a way. So yeah, don't think you could take these on a train or on a plane and hear them, because there's just too much noise there. It would drown out the sound of whatever was coming through these, or you'd have to turn them up a lot, and then you just end up with all the noise from outside and all the noise from it'd just be uncomfortable. Now, of course, they do provide these little ear plugs, which of course you can get a bag of these for next to nothing. I wouldn't recommend using those, because that's really just completely blocking out the sound, and then you have to change the EQ on these because it's too bassy and it knocks it down. But I mean, at a pinch you can do that, and if that's all you've got, fine. But if you're in the business of trying to block out the sound around you, I wouldn't recommend getting these and putting earplugs in. You'd perhaps be much better off getting something with noise cancelling on it instead. I've got multiple sets of headphones for different scenarios. One for listening to music in the home, these for listening to podcasts, things to block out audio if I'm out on a train or whatever. So, it's different headphones for different situations. So just bear in mind, these don't do every scenario perfectly. They're not particularly good for music either. The music reproduction's fine, but it's nowhere near as good as you get on a proper set of headphones due to the technology that's being used. The main place I've been using these, though, is in the car. Before I set off on a long journey, I queue up a load of podcasts on my phone, listen to them through these headphones. I find it much less tiring listening through these than I would listening to the same audio through the car stereo. There's something about voice that kind of booms and wears after a while, whereas you don't get that through this. Of course, I've got full awareness of my surroundings. I could hear for police sirens, for example. I can listen with the roof open without the buffeting sound affecting the audio. I can also hear the sat-nav in the car. That can be giving me directions whilst I'm listening to this. I can do two things at once. The sat-nav isn't cutting the audio out every time it gives me a direction. And one important thing is to do with hire cars. If you are a person that regularly hires vehicles, which I did in a previous job, you definitely don't want to be connecting the Bluetooth in your phone up to a hire car. So if you want to be listening to your own audio in a hire car, then this is a good way to do it. And of course, you can also use it as a normal telephone Bluetooth headset. Phone home. And one thing that a Bluetooth headset offers you over connecting via a car stereo is a bit more privacy. By that I mean, there's a number of times I've walked through car parks and there's been some chap sitting in his vehicle having a Bluetooth telephone conversation via his car stereo. And whilst you might not be able to hear what he's saying, the
the person at the other end is coming through loud and clear. I don't think they realise how loud the audio is in their car's speakers and how well that travels outside the vehicle.
When I bought my Techmoan Air about a year or so ago, they cost me £150 here in the UK. The new Aeropex have now been launched at £150, and that means the older model, the Air, has had its price reduced by £50, so it's now £100. Is it worth paying the price premium to get the new model? Well, we've already had a look at some of the physical differences, such as the larger button, the magnetic charging connection, but let's have a look at the specs. Well, first off, these use Bluetooth 5 as opposed to Bluetooth 4.2 on there. I don't think that would matter to many people, but it might help the fact this has got a longer battery life. This now lasts for 8 hours playtime on one 2-hour charge as opposed to 6 hours on the previous model. These are also a little bit lighter. They're now 26 grams as opposed to 30 grams on the previous one, but you wouldn't say either of them were too heavy, and frankly, I can't really tell the difference when I hold them in either hand, so that's neither here nor there. One thing that might be more significant to people, though, is that these are now waterproof. Yeah, rather than just being water resistant, so you can wear them when it's raining, you can actually submerge these. Now, whether or not you could use them underwater is another thing, because Bluetooth doesn't travel particularly well through water, so I think it's more for the fact that you just don't need to worry about getting them wet anymore. Now, according to the website, it says that the new Premium Pitch 2.0, whatever that is, combined with angled transducers, ensure optimal placement on the cheekbones, which deliver deeper bass, less vibration and louder volume. Well, okay, I'd agree with some of that. They are louder, that's for sure. The sound is also better. It's clearer. It's a little bit richer, so I suppose, yes, that's where the bass comes in. However, one thing that they have reduced significantly, and they mention this themselves, is the tickle effect. Whenever you got a really deep bass note on the previous models, they'd vibrate enough to just move off the skin a little bit, and it was a disconcerting tickling effect on your head whenever the bass kicked in. You don't get that with these, but I also think it's because they've adjusted the EQ a little bit, just to take out those notes which were causing the previous model to vibrate too much, because that sound didn't actually travel through. You didn't hear the bass notes, you just felt them. You don't feel them on these. The audio sounds perhaps a little bit less bassy as a result, but not in the sense that you can hear the bass, but because you don't feel the vibrations, it feels like the bass isn't there. So they've tweaked the EQ more to suit what these things are capable of transmitting down to your ears, as opposed to things that's just wasted going out on your cheeks. And also, talking about that, less sound leakage on the new models, so that's quite a significant improvement, especially if you plan on wearing these in a place where there are other people around. It's less likely you're going to annoy them. I think my main reservation about the Air was that they didn't go loud enough. I always had to listen to them on maximum volume. The new ones go quite a bit louder, so I can now take the volume down a couple of notches and hear things just fine. One thing I will say, though, is that they are definitely not bassy headphones, none of them. So even on their own advert, they say excellent mid to high frequency response. That is the sweet spot. If you're listening to spoken word, podcasts, audio books, these are perfect for that. The spoken word comes through really well on these. But if you're looking for your bassy, thumpy music, well, not really suitable for that at all. So just bear that in mind. I mean, you can hear your music, it's just you're not going to get that kind of bass response that you might be looking for. You need some other type of headphones for that. That said, there's another thing about these. When my father-in-law tried the previous set on, he was amazed how loud they were, because he has quite a significant hearing loss. He uses proper hearing aids and things, and even with headphones on, he can barely hear anything that's coming through them. So I put those on. He went, wow, those are loud, aren't they? So as a result of that, I went and bought him some of these for Christmas, the Techmoan Air, and then this model came out. Unfortunately, I was just in time to return those to Amazon unopened and get him a set of Aeropex as well, because I like these so much I've decided to buy him some for Christmas. So that's his Christmas present. I don't think he watches this, so I think we'll be fine. He won't know until he opens it up. But yeah, that's how much I think of them. I've got a set for myself and a set for my father-in-law. So yeah, I think that sums it up. I mean, I like them so much I went and bought some for someone else. There's links in the video description text box where you'll find affiliated links to Amazon, which means that I get a bit of commission on those if you buy them. But bear in mind, I bought my own here. In fact, 2 sets. These weren't provided by the manufacturer. And I just really think these are excellent as long as you understand what they're for. Don't get them if you don't get them, if you know what I mean. If you think you're going to be using these in a loud environment, well, no, these are the wrong kind of headphones. If you think you're going to be listening to music on them and getting the full range of audio out of that, well, no, that's not what these are for either. These are for listening to audio in an environment that also means that you can hear other things around you. Everything around you. It's not blocking anything out. Your ear holes are open. So you're hearing everything around you, and you're hearing these as well. And they're best really for spoken word, I'd say. But, you know, at a pinch, you can listen to a bit of music and it won't annoy you. It's just you're not going to get the full experience. Anyway, I think I've said enough. That's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.